Welcome to 318 Legends, where we have conversations with local athletes who have gone on to the next level. And today, our guest is a graduate of Ruston High School, class of 1990. He is currently a regulatory analyst for Lumen, but on the weekends, you can catch him repping in the Big 12. Our guest today is Mr. Donnie Aultman. Donnie, how you doing today, man?
Hey, doing well. Appreciate you having me. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we thank you. Also, this is Holden's dad. So,
Yes, it is.
little
It's a bonus.
So, Mr. Donnie, for those who don't know you, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was actually born and raised in Mississippi until I was 12. We moved to Ruston, and that's where I graduated from there. So Louisiana, I've been in Louisiana more than I've been in Mississippi now in my life. But so I call Louisiana home, Ruston home. I graduated from Louisiana Tech. I was part of uh, Ruston High Schools, and I know we'll be talking about that. I was able to be a part of a couple of really good football teams there and a couple of good baseball teams, but graduated from Louisiana Tech. I'm married to Paula Aultman. We were high school sweethearts, graduated same year and together, and have three kids. You just heard one of them's Holden, have Reese and Brody as well. So we've been living in West Monroe for the past 30 years or so. So when I started working for Lumen, I moved over here to West Monroe, and that's where we've been since 1994.
Yeah, and of course, we actually just interviewed your other son, Holden. Sorry, Reese, last night. So, as you said, you played football at Ruston and part of some really, really good teams. We know that before this past year, you were the last team to win state for Ruston. And so, tell us a little bit about some of those teams you played on at Ruston, but also getting to witness your alma mater win state again this year.
Well, we'll make one little correction. I was part of the '88 state championship team. The last one before this most recent one was '90. So it was the year after I graduated. But anyway, I'll still claim that we were one of the last ones. But yeah, we my whole high school career from my freshman year to senior year. Actually, my brother was also part of the 1986 high school state championship team. So from our freshman year to our senior year, we either won the state championship or we went to the semifinals. So we had a lot of success in the late and mid 80s, and to be a part of a team that wins state championship is pretty unique. And that year that we won it, we actually didn't have a great year by our standards. We actually lost two district games that year, and we barely made it into the playoffs. But it's one of those deals. Once you made it to the playoffs, you kind of started rolling, and we were able to get the state championship. Played with a lot of great players. That 1990 team was loaded. You had Brad Laird, Ramon Malcolm. Had a lot of great players. Ruston High wasn't known as one of those teams that put out a lot of athletes that went on to the next level, but that team certainly did it. That 1990 team did.
Okay, so moving on from to your side hustle, I guess you could say. So when and how did you get your start as like a referee?
Well, when I graduated college in '94, I wasn't going into coaching. I really wasn't going to be involved in any type of athletics because I was going into the business world. And I just happened to, in 1995, run into a guy that at Lumen that officiated high school sports. He officiated football. His name was Robin Chappelle. He's actually passed away now, but he was influential. And I just got to talk to him one spring, the spring of '95. He took me out to Washita High School. They were having a spring kind of practice, spring scrimmage, and I just got on the field. I've told this story many times. I had black shorts on, black shoes, and a white T-shirt. I didn't even have a full uniform, and he put me on the field, kind of get me a few snaps, get my feet wet in it, and from there, that's where I got my start. I started going to the meetings and got involved the next fall in the regular season.
So, like we said, you ref Big 12, and so you had to get your start somewhere in the college game. Do you remember your first college game? And if so, what was it like? Were you nervous? Tell us that experience.
I wish I could tell you I remember more about it. I definitely remember where it was. It was in Thibodaux, Louisiana at Nichols State. I really don't even remember who they were playing, but what I do remember is, if you know, of course, where we live, it's hot. But when you get all the way down south in Thibodaux, you're right beside the Gulf of Mexico. And so it's kind of like being at the beach where thunderstorms kind of roll in and you just never know. So it was a night game, but right before the game started, there was just a monsoon. One of those thunderstorms came through. And back then, Thibodaux, Nickel State didn't have turf. And so it just turned in kind of to a pigsty. And they didn't have the best field back then. And so it was a mud, sloppy, wet game. But, certainly was a little bit nervous. I remember the following week more than that one, because the following week was my first kind of televised game at the college level, and that was Southeastern. And that's when Hal Mumme was the coach at Southeastern.
Okay, cool. So what does your average weekend look as a ref?
So I'll start on the day before and kind of go through a whole week. So whatever day our game is on, which in the NCAA football is usually on Friday. Usually on Saturday. So we're getting to the game site on Friday afternoon, usually around 5 o'clock, 4 to 5 o'clock. Depending on your crew, you always have a crew meeting the night before or the evening before, maybe the morning of. And we're just talking about various things. Early in the season, we're making sure we're on the same page of everything we want to do in the game and all the mechanics and things that go along with officiating. And then once you get through with that and you get to the game, we all had to be at the game site 3 hours beforehand, before kickoff. Once we get to the game site, we all have different responsibilities. I am responsible for the inflation of the football. So there's ever a deflate gate in NCAA. Hope we don't have that. But oddly enough, we do check each team's footballs, make sure they're inflated properly. Go through the game. We get through the game. After the game, we had to submit a foul report of all of our fouls and what they were. And then we go home, whatever that looks like. You can get home. If you can get home after the game, you go. Most time it's the next day that you're traveling home. From there, Monday, Tuesday, you're getting evaluated. Every one of our games are evaluated, usually by someone that's involved in NFL. They hire these guys to review our game. We get our evaluation. That's probably about Wednesday. Look through, they tell us what we did right, what we did wrong, what we should have done, what we should have called, things like that. And then, Thursday, you're kind of taking a little bit of a break maybe. And then Friday, you're traveling again. So that's kind of a week of an official.
It's pretty interesting. It's probably a little humbling process of people going, "Hey, you messed up. Hey, here's what you should have done better," kind of thing. But right, you want to answer that? Yeah.
Yeah, they try not to make it too much of a bash party or to hear, like, they're trying to. It's more of a learning process, hopefully, more so than just trying to dog you out.
So if you look right behind Mr. Donnie, you see 2021. You see the college football logo, the playoff logo. We know that you reffed the Alabama-Ohio State national championship that year. What was that process like? Was it different than just a normal Saturday game? What went into it? What do you remember from getting to ref the national championship?
Well, either good or bad. The one thing I remember the most, it was COVID. That was the COVID year. And so everything that whole season was different. That entire season, we were getting tested for COVID every Tuesday. So we had these kits that we had to go through. And if you had the nose test, you had the swab. Every Tuesday, we put it in the mail. And hopefully by Thursday, you got your results that you weren't positive and you could officiate. Getting to that game, the hard part about that game, as far as leading up to it, was that we got that assignment, let's just say around December 15th. And you remember that year, the whole season was running behind a little bit. So we didn't get to that game until like January 20th. So for a whole month, we had to make sure that we didn't get COVID. It was almost like you isolated yourself, because if not, you were, potentially not going to be able to officiate the game. But leading up to the game, here's the interesting part. The Tuesday before the game, we had to get tested for COVID. We had to be at Miami for the game on Friday. As soon as we got to Miami, we had to get tested for COVID. And so really it was kind of more nerve-wracking getting through all the COVID tests so you can make sure you could officiate the game. But leading up to the game, I think it's probably, I've only done one national championship game. It was probably different. There's only 16,000 people in the stands. But you knew it was the only game being played that night. And, but you knew you had two really good teams. Was it a lot different? I think it was just a whole lot different because of all the circumstances surrounding it and COVID and things like that. But it was, ended up being a little bit of a blowout at the end, but it was a really good game to officiate.
So obviously the next step up from college football is the NFL. So have you had any calls for NFL, been looked at? So how does that work as a college referee trying to move up to the NFL?
Well, I think there's various paths certain people take. There's certainly people that the NFL, I guess you say, hires or looks at you. I know there's been scouts at college games, scouting officials. As far as me specifically, this is probably kind of a standard process, is you are asked at some point to apply to the NFL. You usually get an email or something that says, hey, send us your information. The point I'm at right now is I've kind of been on, I guess you call, somewhat of a watch list for the last several years. And every year I update a database for the NFL, telling them what my schedule is going to be in college. And so, oddly enough, the COVID year, I did a online interview. It was a Zoom interview, kind of similar to this, but it was kind of automated. You had questions pop up in front of you. You had about 30 seconds to answer them. Just kind of like kind of an interview similar to this. But since then, I've just been updating my schedule, and you just kind of wait and hear from them. As long as you are updating your schedule and giving them an opportunity to see you, then you're just waiting on any more communication from them.
Well, we are rooting for you. I hope that one day you get that opportunity to ref NFL in a part-time, full-time, however that works. I think it'd be really cool to see someone from my area get to do that. And so, last question for you is that we heard that you do a little bit of the old, used to be called USFL, now UFL. Do you still do that? Do you enjoy it? Is it a different process from everything else, or is it pretty much the same ebbs and flows of a college game that you usually do?
Yeah, I had my first chance to do it last year in the USFL. I was part of the USFL. Of course, now they've merged into the UFL, and I will be a part of the officiating staff again this year. When I got the opportunity, they said, "Hey, do you want to do this?" And I said, "Yes, of course." And I said, "Well, I'm gonna go do about 6-7 games. I know how to officiate." Kind of said, what's going to be the big deal doing these games? But I will have to say this: there was a lot of training there was a lot more training, a lot more that went into it than I certainly expected. Because what happens with UFL, you're looking at college rules, you're looking at NFL rules, and then you're looking at certain different rules that the UFL wants to implement or try out. So when we're getting ready for the season, not only we got to put kind of those three aspects of officiating in together, and so it was a really unique experience. I was trained by some of the NFL trainers. We had Zoom meetings, and by position, I was a back judge, and so we would have the guys that are training the NFL officials come on and train us and go through training. So that was a unique experience. The game itself. It's much like a college game. It does simulate that a lot. The players are good, are really good. So you're kind of blending some of the better athletes that are on some of these college teams together. And you can see it now in some of the NFL games. You're seeing, I think that what the kicker for the Cowboys did really well. He was at Birmingham. So you're starting to see some of these guys. And I think with the combination of the two leagues, it's going to make it even better. But from a officiating standpoint, I really enjoyed it. It gave me a different perspective. And the unique thing about it is you got guys from all over the United States coming together and officiating, not just in the Big 12. You know, you got guys from the Pac-12, Big 10, SEC, Mountain West, you know, all the conferences. You got officials from the various conferences coming together. And that was one of the unique things about it is because I got to meet a lot of new people through that.
Yeah, I mean that's really cool to hear. And so hopefully the season goes smooth. When does the season start for you with the UFL?
Well, we haven't got our schedule yet because of the season's supposed to start March 30th, and then I think they said it's supposed to go through about mid-June. We're going to have a little bit of an abbreviated schedule from a officiating standpoint this year because you're blending the two leagues together, and they really didn't cut anybody per se. So they're just still trying to give everybody a chance. So we'll get about 4 to 5 games as officials, and but it'll start somewhere around March 30th, and probably the major part of the season be March, April, and May.
Okay. Yeah, another USFL guy, actually a local 318 guy, is Cavante Turpin. He also plays for the Cowboys. I think he won the MVP of the USFL and then got signed to the Cowboys, and now he's the kick returner for them. So it's cool to see these. You know, the USFL, of course, is somewhat of a tier down, but some of those guys are still so good that
They
they can
are,
move
yeah.
up into the NFL and be guys that make plays and help out there. But I love your story. I love that we got a referee on. That doesn't really happen often. And so as you get ready for the USFL or the UFL now, hope it goes well. And thank you for giving us some time today. I love all the footballs you got in the back from, you know, doing the Rose Bowl. We know you just did the Cotton Bowl this past year for the Missouri Ohio State game. And so to see some of these big games you've called in the back is really cool. Did you ever think you'd get here? Last question. You ever think you'd get here? Do you think when you started off doing high school, do you think you'd get to do college, do these big bowl games, or was that a goal of yours?
Didn't even know it at the time. You know, I mean, you did no. I mean, it's maybe some of the guys that have a bloodline, of their parents officiating or grandparents officiating, they kind of know that process. But literally, when I started officiating, I just wanted to officiate, and be involved in a game. Me personally, I actually wanted to do baseball, but I just couldn't get it to work out because of my job. And most baseball back in the mid to late 90s was played in the afternoon, especially at the varsity level. And so I couldn't take off. But, I never dreamed I would have, the opportunity to see, to do a lot of the games I've done. And, I was able to officiate 2 state championship games in high school. And, even when you start high school, not until you kind of get a few years under your belt, you think, wow, maybe I can even do a state championship game one day. But it's just kind of a process. You say, I want, when you start in officiating, you're just like, okay, I want to get this game. It's just that big regular season game. It may be Neville Washita or Neville West Monroe or Sterlington and OCS, whatever it may be. You just want that next best game. And then kind of as you progress, you're like, then I had someone, hey, why don't you come out and officiate this ULM scrimmage today? And so you just kind of, easily, what I suggest to people is progress as you can and take those opportunities when you can. And that's kind of what I did. And, it just led to this. And there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. It doesn't happen overnight. There's a lot of studying, a lot of, we do a lot of film review. People probably may not realize that. I spend, several hours a week looking at my film, looking at film of other guys who have done good things, not done such good things, and want to learn from that. So there's a lot of process in it, and learning the rules, applying the rules, and studying film to be successful for sure.
Well, Mr. Donnie, we want to thank you for your time today. Again, as you start the UFL, hope it goes well. Hope it goes smoothly, and thankful for you in our area. And of course, thank you for Holden and Reese and your kids. We're good friends with all your kids. So, if you're watching at home, we want to thank you for giving us your time today. And if you want to check out more of what we got, check out our YouTube channel, Terrible Takes, or you can watch us on Facebook. 318 Legends has its own page. And so, for Lucas and Holden and Mr. Donnie, we want to say thank you for watching and peace out.
Thank you. Peace.